Hey everyone, great to have you here at our second quarterly release of SAP Analytics Cloud and Datasphere. Before we look into all the new features, let's start with a quick introduction. My name is Stijn.
And my name is Cas.
And we are both SAP Analytics experts at Flexo. We'll go over into a quick overview of all the new innovations, starting off with SAP Analytics Cloud, Augmented Analytics, Data Exploration, Enterprise Planning, Story Design, Story Extensibility, and then for Datasphere, we go into data integration, data modeling, data privacy and protection.
Yeah. So in the previously made videos, we had separate videos for SAP Analytics Cloud and separate videos for Datasphere. Now we just merged it into one video handling the SAP Analytics Cloud. Yeah, SAP Analytics stack in one part.
Okay, so let's start off with new features in SAP Analytics Cloud. Starting off with Augmented Analytics.
Yes, so AI is hot also in the SAP Analytics stack. So the Just Ask feature I will immediately show in the system. So if we navigate to the home page actually of SAP, here at the top we have a button for Just Ask, and it will just launch immediately actually the prompt.
Okay.
So here we select the model that we want to prompt. We have prepared a sample model for this. And then we give a natural language, actually just the prompt to the system, and it will give us the feedback based on this model. So for example, we want the top 3 expenses. Give the top 3 expenses by country, and for example, by store type.
And it can calculate this on the fly.
Yeah, so it's as simple as clicking search. And now it gives us a clear overview of our top 3 countries.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah. And also, if we hover over these expenses, it will show us the store type, or you could see this based on the colors. But then we also have a few more options. So we can choose to show this either in a graph or to show this data in a table, for example, for further analysis. Or we can jump to the data analyzer, which can even enable the end user, for example, to drag in more dimensions, but we will handle these features later in the video. Or we have the option to export, for example, or the basic table functionalities from the stories, or to export to a CSV file or an Excel file.
Okay.
So the floor is to the end user, and just play with it around, play around a bit with these prompts and ask whatever you want to the Just Ask feature.
That's quite impressive for the end user.
Yes, so SAP is really investing in these AI tools as well. We're on the train.
There's surely more to come.
Yes, indeed.
Then we move over to data exploration.
Yeah, so also for the data exploration part, like I just mentioned, there are quite some enhancements for the data analyzer. So for example, copying cells, exporting to PDF, or some other features, but we will show this also in a small video. So first of all, we have our story, and it's very important to know that the story is located in a governed workspace. So we will quickly show this, that the story is located in the data analyzer workspace. And first of all, like we would do in a normal story or an end user will do, they can filter or they can play around with the table itself in a story. So filtering, ordering, showing ID, showing description, these are all basic functionalities. So we're just wrangling around a bit with this data for now. But at a certain moment in time, the end user is, this data provided, these dimensions are not sufficient in order to do further analysis. So the end user wants to jump to the data analyzer. And here it enables the end user to add more dimensions, more measures, or do even some calculations themselves. But it's also very important to see that all filters that were applied in the story and all orderings that were applied in the story are now inherited here in the data analyzer view.
That's a really handy function.
Yeah, so you only have to do this work once. You can export it to PDF and fit with the width of the table. That's also a new feature, I think. And you also have these keyboard shortcuts to copy data from your data analyzer to your Excel, for example. And then you can do some local analysis yourself if you have some mapping tables located on your local system. So you do Control-C, Control-V, and this just works.
That really makes it an agile function, actually.
Yeah. And then the last function that we want to show here is that you can save your insight into a workspace. So we navigate to the data analyzer workspace. And this way we can save and play around with these insights in a governed way, and this makes it more easier for end users to share their insights with colleagues.
That's definitely a good new added feature.
Yeah. Before, this was saved in your My Files or somewhere locally on your repository, and you had to share this over a link or a screenshot or by mail, I don't know. But now you can just do it via this workspace.
Then we move on to enterprise planning. Cas?
Yes. So in the enterprise planning part, here we are located in the calendar. So in the calendar, you have a wizard which will generate your tasks, planning tasks actually for the end users. But before, for example, if you would do planning by cost center, you had to select all these cost centers one by one. Now, or you can select a parent, but now you have actually the option to choose as an end user. I want to plan only by parent, for example, the company code of my cost centers. Or you can choose to plan or generate a planning task for all your cost centers underneath that parent. So this makes it very flexible for the end user to choose themselves.
Okay. Then we move over to story design. In story design, we have a new feature called Rank with Others. It's an option in the story viewer to define ranking with others, and it will be supported for charts with flat dimensions and measures with base aggregations. And it can also define rank with others on multiple axes. So it's really a nice visible identification and clear labeling of the others nodes. However, there are a few limitations. So you cannot expand the others node or interact with it through linked analysis or a filter, exclude, and so on. And it's not yet available in SAP BW and IBP. Hierarchical dimensions and complex measures are also not on the table yet. So here's a quick overview. For example, we have 10 sales managers, as you can see. And when we want to rank them to a top 5, click rank, top and options, and then we can see others as a function all aggregated below.
So this way you always have a full overview of the total.
Exactly.
Okay. That's a very handy feature. But before it would only show the top 5, but you would not know what the total left was. Okay.
Then we go over to repoint a model.
Yeah. So another feature is that you can now repoint a model in a story. So before, if you made a story on top of a model, you were not able to switch that model, or you could try to do it, to alter it, but then your story would break and you would get a lot of errors because it could not find any relations to the dimensions or calculation where it was based on. But now SAP provided a wizard actually to do this.
Okay.
So here we can see I made a simple table on top of a model, and I click the data source and click replace. Then I navigate to my repository and I want to select the model that I created. So I took a copy and alter it a bit. So here we see I want to replace my old model with my demo model. It will automatically link all dimensions that are quite similar. So for example, I have a fonts, but I want to replace this fonts with the fonts new dimension. So I remove this fonts from the wizard and I add my fonts new to the mapping. Then I click review and it will evaluate all my mappings, and it will show me whether, for example, a data type changed or there is an unmapped dimension, because all these kind of errors will make sure that my story will break down in the end.
So you know where to troubleshoot.
Yes, indeed. And now I activated this functionality, and we see that the model has changed, and my fonts new is now in my table.
Okay. Then we move over to story presentation. Cas?
Yes. So the story presentation mode, it was something that was already in the boardroom and in a lot of sales videos that SAP made, but I don't think it was that heavily used by end users. So now they brought this functionality to the unified story. We have prepared a small demo for this to make it a bit more tangible, but actually what it does, the first functionality, you can now import stories from import pages from other stories. So this way you would only have to create a page once, of course based on the same data model if data is related to it. And then you can just import it into new stories. So this way, yeah, you create it once, divide it, but also the maintenance, or distribute it, but also the maintenance is just done once and not in all stories, doing the same changes or the same alternates.
So it really combines it.
Yeah, it really combines it. It's also indicated to the left that it's an imported page, and you can always reference or navigate back to the original one. So this was the first functionality that this presentation mode brings. Then the second one. So we have this presentation settings. Actually here we can create some kind of navigated way or structured way for our end users to do planning, or for example, to go through the stories, because before you had to make the specific guide in some kind of custom widget, or you would have to script it with links or put dynamic links behind text. Now you can just create topics or subtopics to really guide your users through the story that you want to bring.
Okay. So it's really like a roadmap.
Yeah. So I will speed it up a bit, but actually what I do is just group all my pages into a topic. So now they're all grouped, we save it. And then on the top right, we have a button, present. So before we had edit mode, view mode, but now we also have a present mode. And this will guide us through a very PowerPoint-like presentation, but it's actually a full screen presentation of our story. And we can see a floating tab on the top with all our options. So you will recognize these from a normal story. You can drag this wherever you want. You can collapse this, or you can open this up again. But you can also go to the navigation panel, and here it will give us the topics that we just configured to really guide our end user through our pages. For example, first we show an overview, then we do analysis, and then we do some calculations, and we show something to really make this one
big picture.
Yeah. Indeed. So also this one we can drag around.
So let's do a quick recap of all the SAP Analytics innovations. So we've seen the Just Ask function, where you could do a query and see a nicely made chart even by AI. Then we go to the data analyzer innovations. Could you recap on the analyzer innovations?
Yeah, so for the data analyzer innovations, we had to jump through from a workspace to the data analyzer. We had the new export functionalities. We could copy our data from the data analyzer to Excel, for example. But we could also save our insights in a workspace to make it more tangible and to make it more easy to share our insights with our colleagues.
And then we had the calendar wizard as well, and the ranking with others, and at last the story presentation.
Yes.
So let's dive into all the new features of Datasphere. So first off, we have data integration. Now, local tables can now serve as a replication source with delta capturing. So this means that there's efficient data propagation and the changes are really tracked and replicated for accurate data synchronization. But we have to note that there's only support for initial only, so the load type for capturing initial data.
This means that actually your delta is not pushed through. So you don't have this delta functionality coming from the W systems or S/4HANA systems, for example, that you can push through. No, it's really an initial only, so it will always load all data, but you have this indicator whether your record is inserted or it's deleted or altered. You will have this indicator.
So this is quite a big improvement, which makes it, for the business, it really benefits them in terms of agility and also scalability.
Yeah. And maybe also important to mention here that you can schedule them.
Exactly.
Before you would have, for example, a replication flow that would be triggered hourly or always real-time replication, but now you can really schedule them, or you can embed them in this task chain, for example, together with your other integration tasks. Also, Confluent is added as a target. Confluent is not an SAP tool, but SAP has a partnership with this company to enable more outbound integration. So adding Confluent as a target to your replication flow will then enable you in the Confluent platform to choose whatever option you would like. I think they have more than 100 options for that.
Okay. So let's move over to business and data modeling. Here we have the non-cumulative measure. It's a new exciting feature actually coming from BW, and it's now available in Datasphere. So it's commonly used in inventory, but also in an HR model. And what does it really do? It tracks the starting value with adjustments to show real-time values, even without data for specific times. Let's look at it in a demo.
Yeah, all BW developers will be very happy that this feature came in.
Definitely. So here we have our fact source, and then we have all the data points. So we start at 150, and then we can even see the deltas.
Yes. So compared with other values, you would have, for example, a start value, and then always the updated value, but not really the delta.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. And so you can add this to a calculated measure, so non-cumulative measure. And then there are still some details.
Okay, so these are all settings you can apply to this measure.
Exactly. So, for example, here the exception aggregation, you have all the options, last and minus max, and so on.
Okay. Yeah, and also good to know that this is available in your analytic model.
Mm-hmm.
So it's calculated on the fly whenever, for example, reporting in SAC, it's all calculated on the fly.
So here we are in the data preview, and we can see the changes.
Okay, so on the left we have our deltas, and then on the right it will calculate always the end value or the total amount.
Mm-hmm. And as you can see, we even added an average.
Yeah.
Here we can see a graph which makes it more visual.
Yeah, this is typical for example, FTE reports or for inventory reports that you just see the change over time, actually.
Indeed. So this is a really nice added value.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have our nested task chains. We also have prepared a little demo for this, but in general, this just enables us to add task chains within a task chain. So for example, if you have a specific chain for loading your finance data and a specific one for loading your sales data, you can now trigger these sequentially, because before you would have to add some buffer, timing buffer. For example, I trigger my sales or my finance data at 9 p.m. and the other one at 10 p.m. No, you can just now trigger them when the other one is completed.
So there's no time wasted actually.
No, indeed. Also, this way you make sure that everything is loaded at the end of your task.
Okay, let's move on to data privacy and protection.
Yes. So SAP added a few options in order to make your data access control a little bit more flexible. So they have these operator and value data access controls, which just enables you to add operators like and or and make combination with them. Because in the past you would have to make these cross joins with your email address, for example, and all different possibilities. Now you can just use these operators.
It's a really handy tool.
Yes, we did not prepare a demo for this, but we did prepare a demo for the hierarchy one. So the hierarchy one enables us, for example, if you have a cost center hierarchy, which you will show later on, you can just put data access control on the parent, and then it will inherit it for all the leaf members underneath. Before, you would also have to make this you would have to do this magic that you cross-join all your email address with all these leaf members, for example, which will generate, if you have 500 end users and 1,000 cost centers, and you will have to make a cross-join with all end users and all these cost centers except for one. This is a very handy tool just to put it on the parent, for example, all IT cost centers.
Okay.
So a quick overview of these two options. So if you use a hierarchy, you would avoid this scripting, this joining. The system runs through a hierarchy for you. So instead of doing it statically hard-coded, you can now do it on the fly actually via this option. And you can access all children under the parent that you select. For the operator and value ones, you have also the single values option. So I will show this maybe in a demo in the system. It's maybe important to understand. So we created a cost center hierarchy with an all parent, so it has access to all leaf members. And then as a sub-parent, we have finance, HR, and IT cost centers. And then as the leaves, we have our cost centers. So now I'm located in an analytic model, and we can see that I only have access to the IT department. So I just showed you, we also had a finance department and an HR department.
So we have only access to IT.
Yes, this is done with this hierarchy data access control, and I will now show you how we did it. So if I go to the dependency analysis tab, we can see here our analytic model, that it's based on a fact view, and this fact view is then combined with this data access control. This data access control is based on your authorization view, and it's based on where your cost centers are located, and it's based on a list where you define your email linked to the parent.
Okay.
So I will not show you how a hierarchy is made.
It's quite straightforward.
Yes, so there we just group all cost centers in finance, HR, and IT, for example. But I will show you how to configure your email address linked to your parent. So this is just done in a local table. And if I do a preview there, we can see that my email address is linked to the IT cost center.
And mine is there as well?
Yeah, yours is there as well, so you can test yourself.
Okay.
But in the data access control itself, you just have to define where your email identifier column is located. So that's done in the authorization view. And then your hierarchy, where your cost center hierarchy is defined, that you will also have to identify here.
So let's recap all the Datasphere innovations. So we've seen the replication flow with the local table Delta enabled.
Yes.
Then we've went over data modeling, the non-cumulative key figures, the nested task chains, and then at last the data privacy and protection, where we've seen the operators and values and the hierarchy as well. That concludes our presentation. This was quite a significant release, if I say myself.
Yes.
We've went over all the new important features, and if you want to know more about our quarterly releases, please follow us down below. There's our release page for SAP Analytics Cloud and also for Datasphere, and follow us on LinkedIn at Flexo and to see more about SAP.
Yes. Hope to see you in the next one.